like and subscribe. Now, throwaway time. What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? 2.5 years ago I was in dire financial straits, so I sold my home to keep my struggling business afloat. I neglected to tell the owners that they have an 800 square feet bunker on the property that I built about 7 years ago. The bunker that I've called home since I sold it. The entrance to it is well hidden, but I still come and go very early / very late in the day. I'm a single man who keeps to himself. I'm now in a situation where I could move somewhere else, but I love this hidden paradise so much. That is so effing awesome. Background: I'm a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care aged 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families. Because I had a Shirley childhood, I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way and they'll stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my psycho birth mother who really wanted a daughter and didn't let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via an anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound, and then moved across the country, gave birth to me at home, and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but was always supervised. I found out way after that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie. She used to explain why she was so strict about me being private and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy and played with Lego and toy animals rather than dolls and stuff. But that's not unusual and no one ever questioned I was a girl, even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my dick would kinda fall off or something, and I would be a woman, and other kids would keep their dicks, and they'd be men. I dunno. To be honest, I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy girlhood and had a bunch of friends and everything was great until I was 7 and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter because she was, now, delusional and stuff. I wasn't allowed to go back home, but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved school, so lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already, and going from a sheltered religious only child upbringing to a rough and tumble testosterone filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine, and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded, and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to commit suicide when I was 11, and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short, and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever. But I'm fine with that. I went through school and got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing, supportive wife. Everything looks great, but I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. TL. Road. I'm a guy and let people believe I was raised in care because I was abused when in fact I had a great childhood, except that my mother tried to raise me as a girl. I speak 2 languages, so every time I received a new essay I would browse the topic in my own language and translate the text word by word to English, then submitted it. No one ever caught me for plagiarism before. Half of Europe does this, not us Brits though. Learn another language. Don't make me laugh. 2015 update. I'm currently learning Spanish. 2018 update. Gave up on Spanish and switched to French after about 6 months. Moved to Paris about a month ago. I run a cake business. I charge people hundreds for wedding cakes. Every last one is made using Pillsbury cake mix I buy for $1 a box at Walmart. I suck at baking. Every time I've ever tried to make a cake from scratch it sucked, but baking is like my whole deal. My friends all call me the cake girl. It's like my whole life is a lie. People compliment my cakes all the time, telling me how delicious they are, telling me it's so much better than box mix cake, telling me they could never bake a cake so delicious. Well, guess what? For $1, they too can make a cake just as delicious. Just add oil, eggs and water. In my defense, I love cake decorating. I make all of the frostings and fondant from scratch. I just hate baking effing cakes. I base my prices mostly on the decoration of the cakes and not of the cake itself, if that makes sense. Still, no one knows about this except my husband. Even my best friends think I effing slave over the oven mixing and baking these damn cakes. I have been doing this for years. If anyone knew, my business and reputation would be in the toilet for sure. I keep telling myself I have to learn how to make the damn cakes without the box mixes, but I never do it. I feel like such a sham sometimes. At least there was no incest in this one. The cake, it's a lie. I cut off all contact with everyone I know and moved to Kenya. I tell people a fake name and a fake background and have made it appear to my family that I died on boat trip in the Pacific. No, I'm not joking. I'm dead in the United States. Tupac. Okay, so this is a secret I've kept for nearly 20 years. During the summers, when I was growing up, my parents would often leave my brother and I'm male, with our aunt and uncle who lived out in the country. It was great as they had 4 sons of ages close to ours, so we had a lot of fun doing kid stuff. One summer when I was 8, the oldest cousin was maybe 16. We somehow got talking, and he asked me if I wanted to sleep in his room that night. He has the nicest room and bed, so I was all for it. Got into bed and he asked if he could touch my penis. I was 8 and just thought it was okay, so I let him. He rubs it for a bit and then asks me to do the same to him. So I do. This progresses and eventually I'm sucking his cock. I think I knew this was wrong, so I said I didn't want to carry on. We stop and I go to sleep quite confused. I wake up and he hands me some money and tells me never to tell anyone about what happened. Next night he tries to do the same thing, but now all I care about is the money, so I do it. This carried on for 2 summers. Eventually I got old enough to realize it was quite wrong regardless of the money and stopped. I've not told anyone this. He's now married with 2 kids. I'm also married, and we see them sometimes at family events. I don't have the balls to even try and talk to him about it. Hell, I'm not even sure what I'd say. I'm sure this will get buried, but just getting it off my chest makes me feel better. TLDR, I was a gay child hooker. God, the TLDR just wrapped it up so beautifully. I once helped out my female friend's family by taking care of their cat for a week. Every day for a week, I would go over there and snoop around their house. I found my friend's diary and proceeded to read the entire thing. I used this information to get her to like me, and she is currently my wife. This is literally the juiciest secret in this thread for some reason. Not totally bland, but not overly obscene. Probably because this is something I could actually picture any person doing, if given the chance. I agree. It is not particularly evil, but it is a misdeed that completely altered that guy's life. Honestly, it sounds like a pitch for a mediocre romantic comedy. Also, there was a cat. I just wanted to tell everyone that you can be damn sure that this thread ain't dead. This is Reddit's Fine confessional box. When I was 13, during the summer, before I started high school, I was molested by a guy who dragged me into an alley, backed me into a corner, so I couldn't escape, and even if I'd tried to, I couldn't have, because he was taller and stronger than I was, and pulled my pants down. I tried to draw attention to where I was, because I'd gone over to a guy's house with my friend, because she liked him, and when we went he just happened to have a friend there to hang out with me while they went off and did whatever. Anyway, I tried to shout and make as much noise as I could, and the guy goes, "This would be easier if you were laying down," and tried to force me to the ground. Then my friend finally shows up and goes, "OMG my name, what are you doing?" And the guy obviously doesn't go, "Oh yeah no, I was trying to worry her, this was my idea," but instead goes, "She was trying to have sex with me, ha 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 ha," and just walks away. Then my friend doesn't believe me when I tell her he dragged me into the alley because she disappeared well before anyone could see him pulling on my arm with both hands and me trying to resist it as much as I could. I never told anyone because I didn't want them to react the same way my friend did. I think about it a lot, and every day I say maybe this will be the day I finally tell my parents what happened, and then I never do. That was almost 6 years ago. My friend and I no longer speak, but I'd stopped being friends with her maybe 5 or 6 months after that, because she told a couple of our other friends that I tried to have sex with a guy I'd known for all of 5 minutes during the summer. I don't want to be with my girlfriend anymore, but she might have cancer, and I feel like I need to stay in the relationship. Wow man, that is rough. You're a better man than Newt Gingrich. That's an incredibly low bar you have set. I faked the last 2 years of college education. My parents put so much pressure on me, I couldn't handle it. I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety, so I faked it all. Lied to everyone. Made up fake transcripts. I just got my foot in the door in my desired field thanks to a friend, as they hired me as a subordinate. This place only hires college grads, but no one double checked my credentials since I was recommended. My hopes is that if I need to find another job, I'll have been at this place long enough to get it by experience alone. I work for a very prestigious company. I'm not bad at my job. I'm actually quite good, but my fear is eventually I'll hit a wall and the lie will come to light. No one has known this for the better part of a decade. It's a relief to finally say it out loud. I can't even tell those I love. My silence is my prison. If you get caught and go to a community college, you'll find a hilarious study group. When I was 17, I had an argument with my father and told him to F off. Later that evening he hung himself. Our argument was the last time he spoke to anyone in our family, and for that I feel a terrible amount of guilt for. Instead of him saying goodbye and I love you to my mom and brothers, he got told to F off before he went and killed himself. My punishment is to live the rest of my days in shame and guilt. He never left a note either. I used to be a police/fire/911 dispatcher, but had to quit because it nearly made me suicidal. I actually had thoughts, but had to drive 40 miles to go to a center/hospital where no one knew me for help. I have nightmares about a few calls I took where the caller killed themselves, shot someone else, or passed away on the phone with me. To this day, a few years after resigning, I still can't listen to a phone ring or sirens go off without having a mild panic attack. I'm fairly sure it's a form of PTSD, with flashbacks, nightmares, panic attacks, and an inability to function sometimes. But I'm embarrassed and scared to tell my fiance or go to a doctor for it. I know there are soldiers out there with real PTSD that deserve help far more than me. I'm very good at hiding it though. I also sometimes wait until my fiance goes to sleep, and I will then go sit and pretty much cry for several hours. It's LTL. Doctor, I exhibit a lot of the symptoms of PTSD, but I'm scared to get help for it because I don't think I deserve to be diagnosed with something like this. As in my mind, I was never in any real danger. I'm a medic. PTSD is real in our field and you should talk to someone. Seeing and, in your case, hearing people in their worst moments can F with you psyche. Everyone thinks I have a good job and roommates, but I've been homeless and a prostitute for over a year. It guy here, it's amazing what people will do on their computers and say in their emails despite having to sign a waiver. That all computer activity at work is monitored and recorded. I have half the company's banking, social media and personal email account info and passwords. I know who is secretly banging who at the office behind their spouses' backs. I know who is sibbering at work and jerking it in the bathroom almost daily. At least they tell their sex chat partner they're running off to the bathroom to jerk it. Haven't felt the need to check the validity of that one. I know when people are having marital problems, financial problems. I even know one person here had their children taken away because a social worker found coke in their house. I know who is embezzling money. I know when people get fired for completely bullshit reasons, like they just want to replace them with someone younger and nicer on the eyes. And I know who my boss is buying Xanax and Vicodins from. Basically I have a treasure trove of my coworkers' secrets. I won't actively do anything with this info, but it's nice knowing I have the ammunition there if something were to ever happen. There was a girl who I had a crush on the moment I saw her on my college campus. She ended up dating a douchebag dude a few weeks later. I happened to end up sitting in a study room with him and a few mutual friends. He talked about how he didn't think she was that attractive and how he liked other girls. I wrote the girl an anonymous email using one of those websites telling her about the things I heard and how the guy was a dick. She ended up breaking up with him after she found out he was cheating. The girl is now my girlfriend of 6 months. She has no idea and is sitting across from me in the library. I've never told anyone this before. At a effin' boy. When I was 15 my parents were going through a divorce. My mom worked night shifts and my dad was living with a friend of his. One night my sister, who was 19 at the time, came home pretty drunk from a party. She was acting goofy and fell on the couch next to me. She started grabbing my leg and laughing and we started fondling. We ended up having sex right there. When we woke up the next day she had no recollection of the night before, so I just kept my mouth shut. Fast forward to when I'm 18. Sister is home from college and dad is over for a visit. They get into an argument, and in a fit of rage my dad announces how he has never forgiven her for the abortion she got when she was 19 and subsequently killing his grandchild. He's very religious. I then realize the baby she aborted was in fact mine, and as far as I know, I'm the only one who knows, since she has never mentioned that night. Shh, it may not have been yours. With any luck, you were just stirring some poor schmo's porridge from earlier that night. I once took a shit in the bathtub, and then realizing what a horrible mistake I'd made, I flung poo into a hole in the wall. My parents renovated and patched up the hole, so now there is a 15-year-old turd in between the bathroom and kitchen wall of my childhood home, not even using a throwaway, because I have no shame. The telltale poop. Yesterday I thought I had problems. Today my life is grand. 6 hours ago, I'm the worst. Who fails calculus 2 semesters in a row? I think I should kill myself. Now, every sunbeam is like the hair of a seraph. My daughter turns 5 next week. If anyone knew the truth behind her parentage, I could probably lose her forever. I grew up in foster care, never knew my parents or siblings. In my senior year, I met an older guy and we dated for almost a year, getting pregnant about 7 months in. One night while we were watching TV, the subject somehow came around to our real parents. He had been adopted as a young child. Turns out the man I was seeing, the father of my daughter, is my half-brother. We have the same mother. Our relationship didn't last, and he is not in her life per his own choices. My daughter is extremely smart, beautiful, and well-rounded. She'll never know the truth. Her father and I made a pact to never tell her. I just hope she never needs a kidney or something. Buried comment, but here goes. Not life-ruining, but makes me feel like shit every time I think about it. As I've told Reddit before, I have a blind brother. When we were young, I used to get so frustrated at all the extra attention he received and how I had to be more responsible with my sibling than my peers. So, when my brother and I would go play, go to the store, or just generally go anywhere without adults, I would abandon him somewhere unfamiliar to him. Then, I would stand off quietly and watch the anxiety set in as he tried to figure out where he was and what was going on. Also, I was really intelligent as a child and knew that was my ticket to attention. When I would help my brother with his homework, I would teach him all the wrong answers so that I could continue being the smartest sibling. Today, my brother is my best friend. He goes to college and lives by himself. He's become one of the most intelligent men I've ever met. I'm trying to make it up to him now by being the best big sister ever, but I still feel so guilty at how I found him to be a burden when I was a kid. I've never stayed on a thread this long. No matter how late to the party you are, your story will have readers. I accidentally killed 7 people. I put a rag into a new water heater exhaust to keep debris out and installed it in a rental. I get a call a week later. There's been an accident. I show up and there's a ton of IMS and police. They ask me where the gas chute off is, and I go down to shut the gas off and see the end of the rag I forgot sticking out of the top of the heater. Rip the rag out, shut the gas off, and head upstairs, only to be told all the tenants were dead. I drink all day now and sleep. It's killing me from the inside every single day. But if I say anything, my family is ruined. We have a bunch of rental properties and we'd be shut down. This post is the equivalent of 1 million armas. I hate all of my friends. Literally, I don't have anything in common with any of them, and don't care. But I'm too scared to be alone and have no one else to go to, so I keep hanging around with them. I honestly can't think of a single person that I genuinely enjoy being around. There are moments, sure, but I'm faking it most of the time. I feel cold and heartless when I think about it, but I really don't like people at all, and yet I'm lonely. Scumbag brain. Damn it. I came very, very close to committing a school shooting. I was picked on a lot in high school. I think it was because I tried so hard to be cool and everyone saw right through it. There were these 4 cowboy jock types that gave it to me the worst. After being publicly humiliated and beaten in front of a girl I liked as she laughed/cheered, I decided that none of it was worth it anymore. I had no support at home, being an only child and having parents that worked constantly, and cutting and burning myself didn't make me feel better anymore. So I got my dad's handgun out of the gun safe. He uses the same combo for everything, the idiot, and brought it to school with me the next day. I can't adequately describe to you guys how ready I was to kill these 4. I had absolutely no fear or doubt in my mind. I wanted nothing more than to show everyone what happens when you push someone over the edge, like they did. I had the gun tucked in my waistline. I was wearing this baggy pair of cargo shorts that I wore a couple times a week that day. I remember walking towards the cowboys table, so goddamn ready for it to be over, when the gun fell out of my waistline, down my left short leg, and made the loudest effing sound as it hit the cafeteria floor. I tried my best to grab the gun real quick, but people saw what it was and screamed, and one of the instructors tackled me to the ground. They eventually concluded that I had brought the gun to school to impress people with badassery and had no intention of using it. I was expelled and sent to live at a youth ranch in Idaho until I was 18. I did have the intention of using it though. I was going to kill all of them. I'm 24 now and I still think about it all the time. I have not recovered from high school. I'm still terrified of people in general and avoid having relationships because of what I fear I'm capable of. I'm not looking for pity. I know that what I did was wrong. It just feels good to tell the story. Thanks Reddit. TL. Dr. I attempted a school shooting.